Good. I'm grooving to the music. Good afternoon, everyone. I had to laugh at myself. It sounded like I was in a dentist office room, but hang on just a second. Let me turn our funny music off, even though I'm having a good time with it. I just can't help myself. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Come on in here. I wanted to give people just a few minutes to join us. I'm Deborah Owens, founder and CEO of WealthyU, where we help first-generation high-earning women keep more of what they earn, protect it, and grow it. So come on in here. Welcome, 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 everyone. I have team with me this evening. Our ambassadors are Anita Jenkins and Sharice Irons. They are here staffing me this evening, this afternoon. So we're happy that you're here. I know that many of you may be at work and may not be able to turn on your cameras, but for those of you who are able to, I would like to see you. So, hey, it's good to see you. Is it Connie, or am I pronouncing that right? Yeah,
Yes, it's Canny Bassey. A pleasure to see you,
yeah,
and I'm tuning in. I'm
yeah.
glad to tune in.
Okay, well, it's a pleasure to see you. Well, good evening. I'm going to get right into it. And I want to thank you all we are streaming live on several platforms. Team, if we can just make sure I'm streaming live on LinkedIn, that would be good. We make sure we got all our technical issues together. Yeah, I see we're streaming live. So good evening, everyone. If you're joining us on Zoom or if you're on LinkedIn, that's great. But you are here for our first generation, our wealth secrets of first generation high earners. So you guys think I'm going to talk about today? In the chat, let me know. What am I going to be sharing with you today? I am going to pin myself so you guys can see me. And then I am going to go right into our presentation. Let me share that. Awesome. Let me just make sure. Can all of you see my presentation and can you hear me? If you can, put yes to all of the above if you can see me and you can hear me. Excellent. Okay, there's my chat. Awesome. Yes to all of the above. Outstanding. So we're going to get right into it. I'm Deborah Owens. I'm founder and CEO of WealthyU, where we focus on helping first generation women investors keep, grow, and protect more of what they earn. And with that in mind, just a little bit about myself, and I'll talk a little bit later. You'll hear my story. But, the truth is that first of all, I am you. I am a first generation high earner. And it was not until I found myself in a field of financial services that I learned that everything that I really had taught about being financially successful wasn't what really led to wealth. And that's really the insight that I'm going to be sharing with you today. So since then, since leaving the investment industry, I've been on a mission to share those insights. In my most recent book, Wealth Secrets, I have some true stories of women just like you who, once they finally got the knowledge that they need, were able to build their first 6, 7, and some are now multiple 7 figures now. And so that's really what I want to share with you today. So before I get started in the chat, let me know who you are and where you're from, because I love giving shout outs, and I want to know what part of the world, or if you're in the US, are you hailing from? So let's just let me see if I can pull up the chat. Who's in here with me? Awesome, awesome. Oh, I see I have some WealthyU members here too. So Ashley and Linda and Pauline. Awesome. I love it. Guys, you guys see me all the time. What are you doing in here? You too, Felicia? No, I'm just kidding. No, I love it when you guys lean in, even though you're already in the program. Yes, it's great. I'm glad. Who was that? We met last, yeah, Felicia Shankin. It's great. It's excellent that you're here today. So we've got folks from New York, New Jersey, Phoenix, awesome, Philly, Bowie. Yeah, a lot of folks here from the DMV. Well, excellent. I'm glad you're here. I am in the DMV myself. I'm in Maryland, but I hail from Detroit City, Motown. We just hosted the NFL draft, and so I don't know if all of you saw that hoopla, but I was kind of jealous. All my friends were hanging out, and I was like, what were we thinking? Why aren't we there? But anyhow, the other question I have for you this afternoon is, I have a formal presentation, but I'm really interested in knowing, what do you hope to learn from this event? You know, you took time out of your day to spend some time with me, and I really would like to get a sense of what you hope to learn. So you can put that in the chat. And if I'm able to double click on your specific, what do I want to say, interest, then I want to be able to do that as well. My money's always flowing, and I want to learn how to make it grow. Yes, yes, that's the thing, right? Like, I don't know about you. Hey, Glenda, it's good to see you. I tell you, that was me, man. I felt like if I just earn, that was the key to success. But what I found was that that wasn't how the wealthy really achieved financial success, really created intergenerational wealth. And that's really what I'm here to share with you, are those insights. So the other thing, stay until the end. Everyone's going to get a gift. So you don't want to go anywhere, because if you're here to the end, we've got something to share with you. So I do have a question, one more question to start out. And I'm always intrigued when I ask this question. What is your biggest monthly expense? That's what I want to know. What is your biggest monthly expense? It'd be interesting. Okay. Linda says mortgage. Mortgage. Okay, home. Okay, mortgages, mortgage. Well, I'm going to come back to this, because in this presentation, what I'm going to share with you is that's not necessarily so. So we'll come back to this question a little later. So first, I want to begin. I just want to share with you who this webinar is for. And if I describe you, I want you to put me in the chat. So you have a high educational attainment. Perhaps you have a BA. You might even have an MBA, MSW. You checked all the boxes: college, career, management track. I mean, sorority. You may belong to a sorority, alumni association. You're an industry rock star. However, you're somewhat conservative, because as I was talking with someone yesterday, she said, I have to make sure I can keep all my coins. She says, yes, I know I'm a career professional, but I want you to understand, Miss Owens, I have to hang on to my coins. I was like, okay, so how's that working for you? And you're in a very high tax bracket. If that's you, put me in the chat. If that's you, put me in the chat. Okay. So you're a corporate trailblazer. first generation postgraduate, BA, you might even have an MD, a MBA, a JD. Perhaps you're a senior manager, director, a partner. You could even have acquired several $100,000 in student loans in order to get those degrees. Your retirement savings, though, is low relative to your earnings, and you could even have a negative net worth, right? So between student loans and mortgage and all of that, you're also in a high tax bracket. If that's you, put me in the chat. Or maybe, just maybe, you're what I call the late bloomer. You left the corporate fast track maybe to start your family. I certainly did that and consulted for a while because I wanted to be there for my kids. The job was just so demanding. I did. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I went into my retirement savings during that time because I launched a consulting business, right? And so, you do what you got to do. And you may have left and then come back and you re-enter the workforce at a lower salary, and now you have inadequate retirement savings. That is not unusual for women. That's why the gap is so big, is because we're in and out of the workforce. Well, I'm not going to even get into that. We earn less in many cases, but if I described you as the late bloomer, put me in the chat. Okay. Me, we got a lot of me's in here. So that's what I want you to know, is that you're in the right place. And then finally, you could be an entrepreneur now. Like me, you left a corporate career with the cushy benefits here, I can tell you. Maybe you're even consulting as a solopreneur. Maybe you've grown your business. Now you're trying to create financial security as a business owner, and your old employer plan may still be sitting at your prior employer, and you have no clue what to do next. If that is you, put me in the chat. And you could be a combination of all of those, of some of those attributes that I put in these sort of archetypes, are what I call them. And I want you to know is that you're in the right place. But here's the other thing. This is what the most important thing you're going to learn today is that all of your accolades, all of those things that you did that really, we were told that was the blueprint in to achieve financial success. I want to tell you, you and I got the wrong blueprint. And that's what I'm here to share with you today. So you're like, well, how do you know that, Deb? How do you know that we got the wrong blueprint? Because I am you, and I got the wrong blueprint. And it's the blueprint that my mother gave me. So on the left-hand side is a picture of my mother, and she is 3 months from graduation. And my mother was born in the rural South, and she married young, and she met this gentleman. And long story short, he told her they would travel the world, and they did. First child was born in DC, second child was born in Hawaii, but then they settled in Detroit, like so many of the Great Migration, and they they had 3 more children. And as their incomes got higher, they landed in solid middle class. And me being the youngest, and that's my graduation picture on the right. I never knew how much I resembled my mother until I put these 2 pictures together. But the truth is that my mother gave me the success blueprint. She wanted to make sure I had everything I needed to succeed. And so she wanted me to have a great education. She sacrificed. I went to a private high school, you name it, from piano lessons to ballet lessons. She wanted me to achieve that American dream. And as things would happen, my parents, after 30 years of marriage, decided to retire back to that idyllic place in Hawaii. And then after a few years after that, in my first year of college, my parents separated. And what I saw was my mother's standard of living really diminish, right? And she moved back to Detroit to a home that our family owned. And the truth is, and I just want you guys to imagine this as a young woman in her first year of college, that kind of shook me. And I never knew why I had this great interest in around financial security. And so, as chance would have it, I would land at an investment company and discover that what my mother had given me was the earner mindset. And what she'd given me, and that's all I did. And how many of you in the chat, let me know, can relate to this, my story, because my story is not any different. I'm sure your parents gave you the same blueprint. They told you college, career, do all the things, be prepared, right? Can you guys relate to that, right, Felicia? Right. And so, that title, when that happened to my mother, that was the title of my first book, was A Purse of Your Own. But then what I realized, that my mother had given the earner mindset, and that earner mindset was, get to that six figures, earn as much as you can. And it wasn't until I just happened to go into the investment arena and learn so much, that the wealthy had an owner mindset. And I'll be honest with you, it wasn't that I was miffed when I got into the investment industry. I just wondered why I hadn't learned any of the insight that I gained in that industry prior to. Like, how come I didn't learn this in my formal education? But it was at Fidelity Investments, and I had a pretty fast trajectory, went from financial consultant to branch manager training, went to Boston, spent a lot of time there, then ended up on the West Coast, and eventually ended up managing the West Coast and spending a lot of time with high net worth individuals. That's when I learned, man, they got a totally different blueprint. And so I want to go back to that question I asked all of you. And that question was, what was your highest expense? I would submit to you that your highest expense is taxes, right? And so what the wealthy know is that being an earner, you're paying the highest income bracket, and that's why they are owners, and they receive their income in the form of dividends and capital gains. So I'm sure you guys have often, how many of you have heard Warren Buffett say, my secretary pays less a percentage of taxes than I do? Yeah. Now that you mention it, federal, state, and local taxes. That's right. So that's what they know that we don't. And if you look at the last decade, what you will see is that the wealth at the top 1% has only gotten higher. Now, part of that is a function of the Tax Reduction Act. And they said it was a jobs act, but it was a Tax Reduction Act. All it did was make the way high net worth folks earn money even more attractive, even more tax advantaged. And that's because, is this crazy that our tax rate is in some cases 24 times? Look at the true tax rate of these guys. And what I want you to know is, you can't win if you don't know the rules. So I'm not mad at them. It's the insight I received when I got exposure to it. And then I understood they had a different blueprint. And so since then, I have been on a journey, really, to share what the wealthy know that we don't. And so in my most recent book, Wealth Secrets, I share those strategies. But what I want you to know is it's been quite the journey. Oh, thank you, Gina. That was my first corporate photo, by the way, when I landed in DC and opened the prototype investor center for Fidelity Investments. So I get to Fidelity Investments. Fidelity sponsors my first radio show on WL with Kathy Hughes. And I'm saying, surely I can get this information to folks this way. And so, of course, when I decided to leave Fidelity, they no longer wanted to sponsor the show. So then I went on my own, and I spent about a decade on the NPR affiliate in Baltimore. And I felt surely I could get this information to people, right? So then I get approached to write my first book, Confident Investing. I'm on tour. And in fact, I end up on tour with Bishop T.D. Jakes. And I'm saying, surely I can get, I'm in stadiums, hundreds of thousands of people. And I'm saying, surely I can get this information out. And then I write my next book, A Purse of Your Own, published by Simon & Schuster, which I'm really proud of that book, because that's when I began to tell my story and really understand my own story. And that was what had driven me from the beginning, was my mother's story. And but what I found was that my mother was the rule and not the exception. The fact is that 9 out of 10 women are going to be responsible for their own finances. We will either never marry, we will either separate or divorce. My parents never divorced, or our husbands will predecease us. So I write this book, and then I have this great idea. I go on this tour, the A Purse of Your Own campaign. And in fact, let me just move, because I think these next pictures, those pictures are so little. I just want, so here's me in the studio. Here's me at a book signing, signing my first books. This is my intro, God's Leading Ladies tour. Then I go on to write A Purse of Your Own, produce this PBS special. Then I have this great idea that I am going to start purse groups. And this is how this information can get to people. And 5 to 10 people will start their own purse groups. And in fact, I think I just saw Annette Stenhouse come in. She was a part of that first purse group. We launched 1,400 purse groups, but guess what? They failed. Why? I'm going to share with you why. And so here's me, and I'm thinking, CNN, man, we have hit the big time, man. Surely we're going to get this information. This is Kate Baldwin interviewing me. Launch this Power of the Purse campaign. Boom. It fails, guys. It fails. And so one day my son is doing strategy with me, and which he still does to this day. And he said, Ma, listen, you can write all the books in the world, but people need accountability and support. And that's when I launched WealthyU, and everything changed. And it changed because what I didn't show you is that I had built this curriculum for a university, and my son said to me, just use that curriculum, Ma, and that's how you can teach people. And so since then, we literally have created a blueprint that now is responsible for women building their first 6, their first 7 figures. And this is the journey that women take. And I talk about it in my book, Wealth Secrets. Don't have time to double click on that today, but I had to first say, okay, can I really create a blueprint that first generation folks could achieve and accelerate their financial growth? And that's when, from those purse groups, when I launched WealthyU and got into personal coaching, Belinda had been in one of my first purse groups. So before joining WealthyU, she had delegated her investments to an advisor, not understanding actually what he was recommending. She was 20 years into her career, and she just knew she wasn't on track for her retirement savings. And when we really looked into her personal rate of return, it was barely growing at 5%. And the thing is that her advisor had put her in some high fees, high surrender charges. Well, long story short, is once she applied the blueprint, she was able to analyze and optimize her portfolio, increase her personal rate of return. She's now achieved 7 figures in a retirement account, established her own brokerage account, established a brokerage IRA, backdoor IRA, and created an estate plan. So applying all those tax advantage strategies. Now, why is that? So then one morning, I get this text, and I love getting this text, but proof that yes, if given the right blueprint, you can achieve 7 figures. Okay, that's what I want you to know, is that now I feel like not only have we nailed it, But what's most important is that we're able to convey that you can make the shift from earner to owner too, but there's certain things that you've got to learn. I convey those in my book, Wealth Secrets, and not only is Belinda's story in that book, but a number of other women. So basically, what I share in the book is the blueprint for how to achieve financial success, right? And the blueprint is that first, you have to understand that you got the wrong blueprint. So there are levels to it, right? Like what I want you all to know is that the financial success blueprint we were given was never designed for us to achieve financial freedom. You cannot earn your way to wealth. That's what I want you to know, right? So you can't change what you will not acknowledge. So the first step in doing that is we have to figure out, okay, what really is your number? What's your financial freedom number? And then once we learn that, then you go to the next level and you go into wealth acceleration mode, right? And so wealth acceleration mode is where you go from saver to investor. You go from earning an average return to higher return, and then that's when you identify the investment levers that are going to make you accelerate your financial growth faster. And it's different for everyone. That's all I want to tell you, depending upon what kind of situation you're in. You could be a worker, you could be with a public company, you could be with a private company, different strategies, right? And then the next level, once you figure that out, is legacy wealth creator. And that's when you expand not only into, most of us are just in our 401ks, right? So one of the things that's clear is that one of the reasons that the wealthy become wealthier is because they are moving into more tax advantage strategies where they're building portfolios that are paying dividends, which have a lower tax bracket, delving into real estate, which has its own benefits, and then getting into high net worth strategies, right? And so so the key is not creating, and this is the biggest point I want you to know, to if you feel like, man, you should be further ahead, and you don't understand why other people feel they're further ahead, but you're not. Any of you guys feel like that in the chat? If you feel like that, like you should be further ahead, put me in the chat. If that's how you feel, put me in the chat. Like, you should be further ahead. Yes, Miss Deb, I did everything that I was told to do, and I know I should be further ahead, but you don't quite understand why you're not. Anybody feel that way? If that's you, put me in the chat. Okay, so the most important thing I want you to know, yeah, me, is that we're playing on a different field because the wealthy have intergenerational wealth. They didn't start out where we were. So I'm just going to take the pressure off of my first generation high earners, right? Like, yeah, we got to a certain level in terms of our income, but the wealthy already have intergenerational wealth. So when their family comes in, they're inheriting portfolios already. They're inheriting stocks, they're dividends, they're inheriting property that has been given to them in a tax advantage way. They have trust. When they turn 21, they go into their private banker, they sit down and they say, okay, great granddad bought these stocks back in the day, and now you're being rewarded to you. So listen, I simply want to take the pressure off. No, we're not starting at the same place. Do you understand? But our responsibility now is to learn these strategies so that we will be the ones in our family to create the framework for intergenerational wealth so that our children aren't starting where we did. If this is making sense to you, put me in the chat. If this is making sense, put me in the chat. Okay, so here's all I got to tell y'all. I mean, I've coached thousands now. And you kind of end up in these two buckets, right? So the first one is the bucket of the passive investor. You have just decided, you've been investing in your retirement 20 years, little engine that could, you're doing all the right things, but you're afraid. And so somehow you're like, I'll take some risk, but I don't want to take a lot of risk. So then you go in what's called a target date fund. And those funds are where you pick them based on your age. And then you've been checking on your account frequently to see if you're on track. And then you join WealthyU and you realize that over those years, you've had either a negative return or barely a 4% return. So literally, I know people who could be millionaires because they've had the discipline to invest. It's just that they didn't know how to choose the right investments. And so you're a passive investor. You think if you do the right things that it's going to work out. Well, listen, all I want to tell you is only going to work out if you make it work out. Okay, or the delegator. Now, this is a true story. Client, her and her husband rolled over their retirement savings. They both started new jobs. They interviewed advisors, and the advisors put them in variable annuities. And they kept asking, and they had another portfolio, right? And they kept asking the advisor, how come our money's not going up? Over 8 years, that $1 million only grew to $100,000. Why is that? Because they delegated. And then they had a gut, right? That money should be growing. And the fact is, it wasn't. And so what I want you to know is financial ignorance is expensive. It just is, right? So some of you are playing not to lose. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is when somebody tells you, oh, you're not going to lose your money if you put it in this. And if the market goes up, you'll get this. And if it goes down, it won't go down. But what you don't realize is that taking no risk gives you no reward. And so the most important thing that you can do is become engaged and active and understand how to turn your money into wealth. Bottom line, many of you would be much further ahead. It's simply that your money isn't working for you. And so what I really want in the book, I talk about wealth secrets. There's 7 major wealth secrets, but I'm just going to double click on and this is the major shift that we all have to understand. And that's why in the beginning, I talked about what's your biggest expense. Your biggest expense is taxes. So it's not how much money you make. All right, y'all got that? It's how much money you keep, and it's your ability to turn that income into wealth efficiently. So what I need you to know is that the major shift you have to make is the shift that the Buffetts and that, don't be mad at them right now. Don't be mad at rich people. You can't win. You just need to know the rules that the wealthy use. And the fact is, our tax system is set up to reward certain behavior. And so the reason I like this chart is it shows how the biggest tax breaks for individuals. And what you can see, the biggest tax breaks and tax breaks in terms of how the overall our economy is built and our tax system is built. You see, it's defined contribution plans. That's your 401k, right? And then what many people don't see is that tax cuts on dividends and capital gains. So the truth is that if you are going to, you've got to understand the game and how to play it. And so this is what I mean. Here in the first quadrant, if you can see this, hold on, I just need to move this out of the way. You can see that as an earner, I mean, literally all you get to write off are mortgage interest, property taxes, and charitable deduction. Even as a solopreneur, for those of you who aren't structured as a corporation, same thing. So many people, leave a job and they say, I'm going to start my own business. You start consulting. You don't put any kind of business entities or structures around that. And so your income is still taxed the same way. Well, what I want you to know is even as an earner, you can become an owner. And you can have tax advantaged opportunities, but if you look at the wealthy, like UBS just did a study showing the wealthiest folks and how they became first generation high earners or high net worth. High net worth are investable assets $1 million, not including your principal residence. And most of it was if they were an earner, they got a lot of their compensation from stock bonuses, restricted stock. So what I want you to know is the key, if you're a high earner, is you got to move to this side. And there's two ways. You can either be an earner, you can establish a consultancy so that you can move some of those expenses into deductions, or I'm not here to tell you everybody should be an entrepreneur, because being an entrepreneur myself, I will tell you it is not for the faint of heart, right? What you have to begin to do is become an investor, and that's how you turn your income into wealth. And so I'm going to give you an example. Here's Dia, and Dia's in my book, Wealth Secrets. High earner, very low investment returns, no investments outside of her 401k, high tax liability. Joins WealthyU, analyze, optimize, and maximizes the return on your investment. In fact, at our most recent event, Dia shared, and this just blew me away, that in 4 years, her investments, based on the knowledge she gained in WealthyU about how to optimize her investments, 194% return increase in her investments over 4 years. She's invested in real estate and is taking advantage of the tax advantage opportunity. But the other thing she's doing is she's teaching her 2 young sons how to invest as well. This is Kimberly Nixon. Kimberly's in the book. When I met her, she was head of marketing in emerging global health for a fitness company, invested in mutual funds, very risk averse to stocks, an extensive real estate portfolio. So she already had a high penchant for risk, right? Once she learned how to analyze and optimize her stocks, not only did she create her own stock investment portfolio for her and her children, but she also launched Open Venture Capital firm. Now she is teaching people how to invest in early stage companies as accredited investors. She established her own investment portfolio. She also teaches women how to invest in real estate because that is her competency. And we're very grateful because she's one of the experts that we use in WealthyU and established her investment portfolio. So I say all of that to say is that you can't win if you don't know the rules, right? And so tax advantage strategies, typically this is so, a lot of you have the opportunity to invest in health savings accounts, but you're looking at them as flexible spending accounts, and they're not. They're like little Roth IRAs that when you contribute to them, you can invest in them, and that you can pay your medical expenses with without there being a tax deduction. All of you, if you have that opportunity through your employer, you need to be taking advantage of it. Some of you have traditional 401ks, 453s, you call them. You can call them what they want, but now that number has increased to 23,005, and if you're over 50, you can put up to $30,000 away, right, a year. What many of you don't know is you can also invest in traditional Roth IRAs, and then backdoor into an IRA. You can do after-tax contributions, tax IRA contributions, which is what I'm talking about, and then move them into a Roth. What the wealthy know that we don't is that one of the largest ways, that one of the most significant ways that the wealthy pay less in taxes is by building a stock portfolio and getting their income from dividends. So what I want you to know is that if they can do it, you can do it too. But where it all starts with you is getting the knowledge. And so the other point I want to make is, how many of you feel like you're running out of time? If you feel like you're running out of time, like, man, that's it. I see you, like, I'm running out of time, right, Kenny? And you're like, what do I need to do? What I want you to know is that if you put this structure in place, and this is a increased rate of return, these hypotheticals that you're looking at are based on 8%. If you will simply start analyzing and optimizing and maximizing your investments, you can still get to 7 figures, right? Like it's not impossible for you to do, but the time is now. That's all I'm telling you, because here's all I gotta tell you. I have women who've known me for 10 years. And they haven't, I've been on this, I'm not new to this, I'm sure to this, guys. And they're like, man, if only I would have started early. You saw that was exactly what Belinda put in her text. What I want you to know is this, and y'all have to understand this, is that it does not get better. It gets worse the longer you wait, right? But if you simply just start, this is that blue line. I started at 50. So let's take a 20-year time frame. I don't care where you're at. I started at 50. I'm putting $30,000 in a year. Boom, boom, boom. I get to $1.3 million. Let's say I'm under 50. I'm putting 22, which is now 23,000 a year. I can still get to about $1 million, right? At just an 8% average return. But let's say, okay, Deb, listen now, I gotta work my way up to this, right? Let's start with $1,000 a month, $250 a week. Boom. We can get to $500,000. And if these rates of return were higher, you could still get to $1 million. All I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to belabor this point. And this is why I've been on this mission, is that you got to start, right? Like if you continue to do the same thing you've been doing, you're going to get the same outcome. And so the good news is that all of these strategies are in my book, Wealth Secrets. And they're just some amazing stories of women who were just like you, saw me at a event, saw me speaking somewhere, joined WealthyU, and then everything changed, right? Because they got the right blueprint. What I want you to know is we were given the wrong blueprint, that you're not going to earn your way to wealth, that you're not going to be able to delegate your financial security to anyone, that you have to take ownership. That's what I want you to know, that the most valuable asset is not money. The most valuable asset is the knowledge of how to build wealth. And so that's the point that I'm making. I see so many of you, I talked to you. I talked to a woman, she had several $100,000 in a bank account and fearful of that. Several $100,000 in that bank account was worth 700,000, double what she had she just invested it. And so here's all I want you to know is if you want access to a transformational wealth blueprint that provides access specifically for first-generation high earners, listen, guys, we just never learned this. We were never exposed to it. And the bottom line is if you don't have $1 million in assets to go into some of these investment companies, in some cases, even then, right? Like what I want you to know is that you have everything you need to be The only thing standing between you and the financial success that you want is knowledge, right? And so you're going to love what you're going to hear next, but I'm just going to tell you, I did this because I wanted to give you guys an opportunity. So I am going to open up my calendar on Thursday, and it's going to be their WealthyU audit sessions. I just wanted we create your 7-figure blueprint. We basically show you what your gap is. So for those of you who are interested, take a picture of that QR code, right? And it's going to take you to a calendar. And again, there are only 8 sessions, I think, available on Thursday. So act fast. Are you worth 30 minutes? I think so, because in that 30 minutes, the whole point is really to show you, based on your situation, what lever you need to pull, right? Like what lever do you need to pull based on your own situation? First, we're going to do is think about your wealth gap. Like for those of you who feel like I'm running out of time, I'm going to show you how much time you have and what you need to do to catch up. Next thing, you're going to actually learn what your financial freedom factor is. What is that number that you need to achieve in order for you to live in the lifestyle at retirement, or some of you want to early retire? What is that number? And then finally, you're going to walk away with your 7-figure wealth blueprint. You'll know what you need to do. And then at that point, you can choose to go forth and try to do it on your own. Or if you need assistance, you can join what a few of our WealthyU folks are here in the community are here. But I did promise you, for those of you who stay to the end, you're all going to get a copy of my book, Wealth Secrets. Hopefully it will inspire you. There are more stories of people like Dia, Kim, Tisa. I mean, just some amazing, amazing stories. And they're just proof positive that when given the right blueprint, anything can happen. So again, Anita is going to put that link in the chat. If you would like to learn more about WealthyU, you can go to wealthyu.com. If you're with an organization that would love to have WealthyU come and speak, you can do that as well. But I'm going to open it up for, where am I in terms of time? Oh, very good. I left enough time for questions. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'll give you guys just a minute if you want to take a screenshot of that. But basically, the session is 30 minutes. I'm going to create your blueprint, and everybody's going to get a copy of the ebook. So with that, I am going to open it up to questions. And I absolutely would love to hear your feedback, any questions. Anybody want to open up their camera? Let me unpin myself. What were your takeaways? This is the question I want to ask you guys. If you applied one concept that I shared with you today, what would have the most impact? Like, out of everything I covered a lot. Would it be increasing your rate of return? Would it be learning more? Meredith says, I love this session. Excited to for sure check out the book. Going to go run and eat lunch before a meeting. Key takeaway, going further in investments beyond HSA. Yes, that's great, Meredith. I love that. Key takeaway, go write it. Will this recorded session be made available to attendees? Usually we don't do replays. I actually do these events pretty early, but I don't know, if you twisted our arm, we could probably give you a copy of the replay. Sure. We have 2 of our ambassadors are here today. Let me allow them to introduce themselves. Anita, I'll let you go first. Anita was sitting right where you were, just so you know, and now she's on the team. She's a member of Success Advisors. She teaches women how to analyze and research stocks. She does all the things. Anita, say hello.
Hello, everybody. So glad to see you here. So glad that you have invested your time today to learn some of the wealth strategies. And like Deborah mentioned, yes, just like you, I think many of you are here today because you want to know about those strategies. You want to empower yourself just like I did. The only problem was execution, feeling confident enough to execute. And that's what this foundation has done for me. WealthyU has given me the confidence to act and execute, and not just, know about these different strategies, but just actually doing it. That's the key for me, is being empowered. So I am so glad you took this first step coming in here today. Now you just need to go to the next step, just like I did, baby steps, and we'll all get there together. Thanks so much for being here.
Excellent. Thank you. And let me let Sharice Irons, one of our newest ambassadors and members. She's not new to it though, but she was a former client. So just so they know, but Sharice, please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, ladies. Hi, Deborah. Hey, Anita. So for those of you that are new here, I want to say welcome. You have taken the first step for the rest of your life, like Deborah was talking about. A lot of times we play not to lose instead of, winning. So I am a retired educator, and that happened because I became really ill and I had to retire early and be out, in my early 40s. I met Deborah way back in 2018 when she was doing A Purse of Your Own and doing her tour and all of that. And we talked about finances then and investing. And like many of you here, first generation high income earner. However, my money wasn't being placed into the proper locations. And when I became ill, I was very shocked at the amount of money that I had after all the years of working and investing. At least I thought it was being put in the right places. And then I had to use that money. Like Deborah talked about having to take that money out. I had to do the same thing. And now I'm in the process of rebuilding that. And one of the things I've learned about being here in WealthyU is that you have to take ownership for your own financial future. You cannot depend on anyone else to do it for you. You have to be responsible. So yes, you work somewhere. Yes, you're putting your money, but you have to ask questions about where's my money going? Why are you putting it there? I don't want it there. Being able to stand up for yourself. And also I've gotten the value out of going into different places, negotiating for lowering credit score, getting better rates with my insurance. It's not just about just investing, but you're learning other financial strategies as well that can help you as you go. So ladies, let's get it. Click on that link and get your appointment.
Oh, thank you, Sharice. I appreciate that. And we also have a few of our existing members, and I would love it if I think Felicia, you're kind of new to WealthyU. I would love to hear what if you're available, or either Ashley can pop in. She's in one of our other programs, Legacy Wealth Accelerator, who would like to greet these ladies and share with them their insight. Any of you?
Hi, Deborah. Hi, everyone. This is Felicia.
Hi, Felicia.
So I think for me, I had some financial knowledge, but not realizing that I was not actively participating in I left my previous company, so I wasn't actively managing or taking note of what's happening with my investment, which was just kind of sitting in basically a savings account, not doing anything. So after several conversation with Deborah, I'm more actively aware, and I am participating and making sure that I can become a seven-figure earner in the future. So that's my focus and that's my goal, and that's what I'm working on. So
I love that, Felicia. Thank you so much.
I'm here to learn.
That's right. And in fact, Felicia attended one of our sessions just like this. We did an audit. That's exactly what happened. And she saw that her money was not performing the way that it could. So I am so excited. I like our newbies. We got OGs, we've got newbies, but just know we're family. And I would also say that the focus of WealthyU is really to create a safe place, right? For you to have these conversations. So many of you probably feel like, oh, I should know this, you know what I mean? Or sometimes you feel uncomfortable talking to people about, what you don't know. Sometimes even people within the investment community maybe talk down to you, or maybe you just fill out the little form and allow that person, those investments to be made based on your lack of knowledge. And what you don't realize is when you're filling out those questionnaires are taking in your lack of experience. And so what's going to happen is they're going to automatically move you into more conservative investments. And the point I want to make, and finally, I'm going to leave at this, I'm going to get off my soapbox, is you cannot win playing not to lose. Okay, so I know that the propensity, particularly for new investors, for novice investors, is to be risk averse. What I want you to know is that you have everything you need. The only thing that's standing between you and being able to take calculated risk is knowledge. And so again, I just hope that for those of you, if this resonated with you, I hope you take advantage of the my calendar being open on Thursday so you can have an audit and see what your situation is and what would be the strategies that you need to employ. And so with that, we're right at 2:00. I want to thank you so much for attending this webinar, and I hope that we'll see you in WealthyU. So with that, I say a good afternoon to everyone, and thank you so much for spending time with us this afternoon.